Good morning. It's a real pleasure to be here at a very exciting event to have this opportunity to talk to you about the International Association of Insurance Supervisors, a truly global association of insurance supervisors from over 140 countries around the world, and in particular our next exciting chapter of the IIS and our strategic plan for the period 2020 to 2024. And I hope by the end of my talk to give a strong sense of the alignment between the IIS's objectives at a global level and the objectives of the Hong Kong Insurance Authority and Administration more generally that you'll hear about during the course of today. But before proceeding, just a few opening remarks. And first of all, I would like to congratulate the Insurance Authority of Hong Kong on putting together this fantastic event. Chairman Cheng, CEO Clement Chung, this is a remarkable achievement. So I think please join me in a hand of congratulations. We heard that the Hong Kong Insurance Authority has been an independent regulatory authority for just more than a year now, and to pull together an event of this scale with such a strategic agenda is a fantastic achievement. So my very warm congratulations. It's also an opportunity for me to reaffirm the IIS's commitment to Hong Kong and to the Asian region more generally, particularly as we embark on our new strategic direction. As the engine of growth in the insurance sector and also a cradle of innovation, it is my desire to continue to strengthen this relationship between the IIS and the Asian region, not only to help promote the IIS's mission of efficient and globally consistent regulation and supervision, but also to learn from all of you as you develop your thinking on the role of insurance in addressing societal challenges such as sustainable development, aging society, climate change, and disaster risk management. But my main objective today is to provide some insights into the IIS's new strategic plan for 2020 to 2024, which was approved in principle at our annual general meeting in Luxembourg last month, as Chairman Cheng mentioned. It's an ambitious plan which comes in a period of great change, but I want to give you a sense of the fact that it was a very consultative process that we followed, give you a sense of the flavor of some of the themes of the main input that we took from that consultation, as well as the key elements of the strategy going forward. It was my commitment when I started as Secretary General just over a year ago that we would build on our program of stakeholder engagement and strengthen this process of exchange. And I'm very happy we were able to do that with our strategic plan. We've had an intensive process of engagement, not only with our members, but also industry stakeholders. And we've had, as you can see, various touch points in the process in which we were able to benefit from this input and to help refine and shape our thinking. So we had very rich input, but I'd like to share with you some of the key themes that came through that consultation. So first of all, and this is hardly needs stating, insurance markets are evolving rapidly. New market disruptors are emerging. Technology is having a significant impact along the entire insurance chain. New lines of business like cyber insurance have also emerged. But at the same time, insurance has started to move more center stage in some key societal policy debates on issues like aging society, climate change, and sustainable development. This is to borrow a phrase, I think in some ways a golden age for insurance that we're moving into in terms of its relevance to the debates of the day. This is a good thing for the insurance sector, it's a good thing for insurance supervisors too. It offers huge opportunities. For instance, the role of technology in closing the protection gap and financial inclusion. Obviously, it presents risks as well to operational risk and stability concerns. And it is the role of insurance supervisors to monitor this and the role of the AIF to help equip our members to deal with these changes. Many of these risks relate to risks to the fair treatment of customers. And I think it's fantastic that on the agenda today we have a panel session dedicated to market conduct issues. And we as the AIF, I think, realize that a more holistic approach integrating prudential and market conduct objectives is needed in the period ahead. We also recognize, as was coming from the comments, that proportionate supervision is key. Proportionate supervision is key to objectives of insurance market development and the role of insurance in building resilience and sustainable economic development. So whilst the focus has been necessarily very much on financial stability in the past 5 years, we're moving into a phase where increasingly the focus will be on sustainable growth and development and the role that insurance can play towards that objective. But of course, we talked about rapid growth, particularly in the Asian region. One of the comments which we fully support is the point that whilst these markets are growing rapidly, we need to make sure that supervisors in these emerging regions are also able to keep pace with these changes. And so the period ahead will put a strong emphasis, and as the former chairman of the IIS Implementation Committee, I'm very pleased to be able to say this, a strong emphasis on supervisory capacity building and helping our members, our member supervisors, to be ready for these changes that come. And lastly, all of these changes also have implications for the way that we as the IIS work and communicate. In a period of rapid change, we are going to have to become more agile. We're going to have to respond more quickly with guidance to our members on these changes and make sure that we communicate in an effective way. So big contextual changes. What does that mean for our strategy? Well, whilst I said there's many changes, there is also still work to be done on some key outstanding aspects. And the first message is that finalizing and delivering on our current commitments to the post-financial crisis reform agenda will remain key. And I include in that our work to developing a common framework for the supervision of internationally active insurance groups, otherwise known as COMFRAME, much easier, including, for the first time, a global insurance capital standard, ICS. We are on track to deliver this by the end of 2019. And for the first time, we will have a truly global common language for the supervision of global groups. So we will be making a significant milestone, and we will, particularly with ICS, be moving into a very interesting next stage from the design phase into the monitoring phase, the usage phase, from policymakers, policy people within authorities to group-wide supervisors within authorities. And we look to our members, including Hong Kong, to take a lead in giving a supervisory perspective on ICS in the period ahead. I also include in this the holistic framework for the assessment and mitigation of systemic risk that we delivered for consultation in Luxembourg last month. So that's the first element, delivering on current commitments. But as we complete this standard setting work, this will also necessarily mean that we will need to pivot our focus to the implementation of these globally agreed standards. And so the period ahead will see a shift from regulation, standard setting, to the application of these new standards. So much more focus on supervisory practices, the supervision aspect of what we do, and also the assessment of implementation of these standards as well. But as I say, as we complete our focus on the post-crisis agenda, this will also free up our resources and our energies to focus on a range of emerging issues. Fintech, clearly, cyber, climate risk, but also financial inclusion, sustainable development. So these are exciting times ahead. These are issues that impact all of our members, not only members from developed jurisdictions, but also members from developing jurisdictions, which I think makes it a very powerful agenda for the period ahead. These are also issues where I believe there is a strong sense of alignment between the objectives of supervisors and the objectives of industry stakeholders as well. And so we also look forward to a period of moving perhaps from an approach of consultation with our industry stakeholders to much more collaboration on these joint challenges. And lastly, and as a former supervisor from South Africa, it also gives me great pleasure to say that in the period ahead, the IAS will continue to strengthen its engagement with emerging market and developing economies. Where the growth is coming from in the insurance sector, where these issues, these societal challenges are key as well. So we are building the structures to be able to do this. To mention a few, strengthening our regional engagement, and a very big thank you to Hong Kong for all the support that you're giving to the strengthening of the Asian Forum for Insurance Regulators, AFIA, a fantastic job being done there. We have established a third EXCO vice chair role to champion and coordinate issues around our emerging market and developing economy members. And lastly, most recently, in fact last month in Luxembourg, we've also changed our governance structure to expand our executive committee composition, adding seats, 2 new seats for the Asia region. And whilst maintaining my neutrality on these issues, I would perhaps invite Hong Kong to give consideration to this opportunity. Now, just to give a sense in the time that we have left, just to give a sense, we've taken all of this We've translated it into these 5 high-level goals. But I should mention these, for those of you who are very involved in the AIF, this should not come as anything new, because really these are the key building blocks of what we do as a global association. So we monitor developments and trends at the global level. We use that information to inform whether we set new standards or whether we should provide guidance on supervisory practices. And lastly, we help our members to build the capacity to implement these standards and supervisory practices. And then, as you see on the next slide, we also have the feedback loop in terms of assessing implementation of these standards and supervisory practices and making sure that the feedback from that implementation assessment feeds into ongoing refinements of our standards and our guidance. So hopefully that has given you a good sense of where our strategy is going in the period ahead. Where we are is that we're now working on the financial side of things. All plans have to be funded. So we're currently finalizing our budgeting and our financial outlook, and then being able to develop a combined strategic plan and financial outlook package to our membership in the second quarter of next year, ahead of implementation from 2020. And in fact, we've already started planning for that transition. So it's exciting times ahead, times in which I think the role of the insurance sector to the real economy become that much clearer, the role of the insurance sector for societal changes, and the role of insurance supervision in supporting addressing those challenges becomes that much more important. And I hope that you'll agree with me that there will be a great deal of alignment between the IIS's focus at a global level and the interests and strategic focus of the Hong Kong Insurance Authority in the period ahead. As the IIS, we are very much here to support you in this future journey. And thank you for the time, and best of luck.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Dixon.